I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, president of the Rio Rosewood Foundation, on the set.
I am Laura Bryan Perez, in the flesh.
I'm Evangelist Ora Emmon, coming at you.
I am Dr. Alice Walton, and we are
Speak Life.
You know, ladies, we've just come out of a very critical election. And that election shed a lot of light on Alachua County. And it showed the hearts of people, it showed the desires of people, it showed the best of people and the worst of people, as elections will often do. And we have noticed that in Alachua County, there is a divide, as there is in most places. But I don't live in most places. I live here in Alachua County. I grew up here. My mother raised 12 children in Alachua County. And I never knew. Somehow, growing up here, I didn't really know about a divide. I loved everybody and everybody loved me. That's the way it was. But as I've gotten older, I know that things have changed and I see things in a more mature way. What we're going to talk about is some of the areas of division.
Economically,
Education.
And of course, there's a racial divide.
Yeah.
Now, most people, they don't like to talk about these things because it's not easy to talk about it. But there must be a dialogue about it. We must talk about it in order to do something about it. Because in order to really understand somebody else's perspective, you got to talk to them. And so it's not easy, but we don't expect in a 30-minute show to solve the problems of Alachua County. But we're certainly going to try to address them. You said economically. What have you found going on?
well, I found out in my research that Alachua County, there was a study that was done, and it came out in 2011 that Alachua County had the 5th widest income gap in the country, and that was from 2005 to 2009. And that speaks volumes to us that we have such a wide difference in income that this should not be in a city this small. But it showed that the haves and the have-nots, and it shouldn't be that. And we should be on one accord. There should be some unity, even in the economical, as far as who has and who does not have. So we should have a coming together that the have should help the have-not, so there can be a balance in our society or in this county.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. But I've definitely noticed, like you, in my research, that in this county, we really have the haves and the have-nots. And that is based on a lot of factors. But right now, I'm going to talk about the educational disparity.
Okay, the education basically the same. Schools should not be judged by their zip code, okay? And I know some of the schools on a certain side of town have more advantages than the schools on the other side of town. And we are going to work with people in this community to see if we can bridge that gap. Because I grew up in the country and my education was not the best, I thought, but it was the best, okay, because my parents, who both had an 8th grade education, started teaching us when we were very young, and they were our teachers. Education starts at home.
Right.
And we need to make people aware that you just don't send your kids to school and expect the teachers to teach them everything. Some of this starts at home. And we are going to be working with the community, not hopefully, it's our plan to work with the community and see if we can bridge that gap too. So that all of the schools, we know we want the best for our kids. We want fairness, we want equal opportunity, we want everything the same as the haves. We want it for the have-nots. And there is a racial disparity. I spoke a month or two ago on racial disparity. I'm not going into it. But we too know that there are some things that need improving, and I think if we work together, we can make it better.
Lizzie,
Yes.
one thing you mentioned about as far as education, that parents have to take responsibility because the teachers can't do it in those few hours. There needs to be some responsibility on the parents that they need to take initiative and help their children. You can't put all the responsibility on the teachers and the education system because they're your children and they only want to help.
Exactly.
And, yeah, because at the end of the day, they are your children.
Right.
And you are responsible for, you know, what happens in their life and what they become. But she mentioned racial disparity. And we certainly, I remember, I had a nephew. I only met one kid who really was colorblind in my whole life. He was in kindergarten, I think it was, in a band, in the school band. And he said, Auntie, I want you to come to my band performance. And I want you to meet my girlfriend. I said, you do? You got a girlfriend? He said, yeah. I said, what she look like? Well, I don't know. She like black. I said, light black. Well, yeah, I don't really know what color she is. And I said, he said, I don't really know what she looks like. So I said, okay, I'll come. Well, my nephew was inducted into Florida Blue Key. And at that ceremony, he said to me, I know the difference now. I know the difference. And I wish that he could have always stayed that way, where life for him was in a way that he really wouldn't know a difference. But because of his life experiences through high school, college, and all of that, he went back to that conversation we had at 5 years old to let me know that because of his experiences, he knew the difference. And I hope that we can know the difference, but it won't make the difference. You know, we would treat everybody the same. Because I've always found it very hard to understand how someone can take a negative and use it in somebody's life simply because of race. I've never been able to do that.
It's a taught behavior. It's a learned behavior. Children don't automatically come knowing that there's a different color. It's something that is taught. It's a learned behavior. And so we are the ones that make the difference. Children don't know color. And my grandchildren, until I explain to them there's a difference, they never know color. Their friends, they don't know what their friends are. They say, my friend. So it's up to us.
Right.
We teach color.
Exactly. And I taught kindergarten, and that was my best experience because they did not know color. And let me tell you, if you all have kindergartens, they're going to come to school and they're going to tell the teacher everything, all of the family business. Okay, they tell it all, but they are sweet, little innocent kids, and they don't know color.
Well, one thing that I believe is that the things that unite us are stronger than the things that divide us. We will be right back with the Honorable Clovis Watson Jr., who is our state representative, and the Honorable Robert Hutchinson, our county commissioner. They will shed some light further on what we're discussing now.
Accidents and injuries can happen after hours. If you call Glassman and Zissimopoulos after hours, you won't get a referral service and you won't get an answering service. If you call Glassman and Zissimopoulos after hours, you get this phone, you get a partner, you get me. If you've been injured in an accident and you want attorneys who will put you first, call us at 352-505-4515 or find us at putclientsfirst.com.
We want to thank these gentlemen for being with us on set today. Someone once said that you can call a politician anything as long as you don't vote him out, he'll answer. But I don't believe that, not these two. They're from our community. I don't believe they answer to anything. I believe they answer to the truth. And that's why they are so good for our community. You hear the things that we've been talking about today, right? About the division. What are your thoughts on the division in Alachua County? Let's start with you.
Well, Alachua County politics has always been rough and tumble, and we had a rough and tumble election in August, But clearly what came out of it was the desire for people to work together. And for instance, my opponent, Larry McDaniel, he and I were friends for the last 20 years. We'll be friends for the next 20 years. And he has pledged to work to make the community a better place, and so have I.
Really? Well, that's good. So from a state perspective, but you worked a long time here within the community before the state.
Yes, I work locally, but I think the issue does start with the state. When you look at the depravity with our young men who are incarcerated, who the state refused to, under this administration, to give them the opportunity to have restoration of rights. And I think that's a big problem in every local community, and particularly this local community. And when you talk about economic depravity, you have those who are unemployed and underemployed and cannot get their rights back for something as trivial as having a small joint or half a joint, if you will, of possession, and it end up ending careers, not only in Alachua County, but throughout the state of Florida. And I think we need to do a better job of advocating for our young people and pushing this administration and the power in Tallahassee to look at restoration of rights, because I think when you give a person an opportunity who not confined by four walls, if they don't have an opportunity economically, they're still confined by four walls.
Exactly.
They're just not confined to a point where they're incarcerated.
Right.
So when they get out of incarceration and still cannot get a job or an opportunity, or cannot involve themselves in the process, there's a lack of respect there. And you have people who may walk around angry, upset, feeling like they cannot get involved in the process. And I think if we don't do a better job in engaging those who have made mistakes, non-violent offenders, we're going to hurt.
Okay, let me ask you this, Representative Watson, because I really don't know a whole lot about the restoration of rights. But my thoughts were that people who are convicted felons that have done their time now, that they can apply and their rights will be restored. Is that not correct?
Well, yes and no.
No.
If you want to get on a list for 5 or 10 years, you can. There was a process in place under Governor Chris where they did have that opportunity that was a little more expedient. Under this administration, that has changed.
Okay.
That is the reason I think restoration of rights should be automatic. It should start at the local court level. Those who are incarcerated should be told that you will lose your rights temporarily, and once you are free, you will be free for opportunity. Because if rights are truly rights, they should be suspended, not taken. If they can be taken, then you truly don't have rights.
Right.
Well, and it's taxation without representation at that point, because a lot of folks who are working in the community, paying taxes but can't vote, to me, that was the fundamental reason why we fought the revolution.
And I would want to add, a gentleman came to my office who had his license suspended, I think, 3 times, and it ended up being habitual, and it turned into a felony, and he cannot vote.
For driver's
For
license.
driver's license. And that is a fact. And it also hinders opportunities for those. Now, when I was city manager, I hired people who had made mistakes, and they did quite well. And I negotiated with other companies to hire people who had made mistakes in my community, and they did, and they're doing quite well. If we don't get restoration rights, then we need to encourage those businesses that come to our community to look at those. We don't want to have a mandate, but we want them to at least give an honest eye for those who have made mistakes when they're 18 and can't get a job at 30.
Right. But we also need to make sure that they have the salary to meet those needs that they have. And if they have a family, that they should be able to support their family, because you can't support a family at Subway or Burger King.
Exactly.
If you're a felon, you just can't. And so you give them almost no options when you give them, these are low-paying jobs. So it's a no-win situation almost.
Well, one of the things that Alachua County government has done is, with all of our workers and with all of our contractors, we've put in what we call a living wage. It's not a living wage, still gets to $15 an hour, but at this point, all Alachua County workers are at $12.50. The university is at $12. I think the city of Gainesville is at $12. So as the government employees get their salaries where they need to be. That's going to put pressure on everybody else. So we're hoping the private sector follows behind. We know that Infinite Energy, we know Mergurn Investment, we know a number of other companies have followed suit, and all of their employees are making between 12 and 15 now. So
And the thing we must remember, as I listen to them, what is really coming to my mind is the fact that we, the people, we are the people, and we are responsible for our own lives. And if we have people in office who will not give us due diligence in representing us and the things that matter to us, we are not hopeless, helpless Americans. We have the power to change things. That power is in the vote. We can vote these people out. Nobody is in the office forever. They're in office as long as we allow them to serve us and stay there. And when they no longer serve a good purpose for us, then we will not allow them to stay in that office because they represent us. We will be right back after this to discuss this more with our panel right after our break for arts and entertainment.
And now, as my guest today, I'm going to have Kaylee McNicht, who is going to do a monologue from Alice in Wonderland. I'm so excited to have you today.
Thank you.
And I understand that we're going to hear a little more about your semester, and I'm assuming you're going to portray Alice.
Yes, ma'am.
And how excited are you to do that?
I'm so excited.
And I'm looking forward to your monologue.
Thank you.
In just a minute, we will 3, 2, 1, and action. Okay.
It's all in some language I don't know. Why? It's a looking glass book, of course, and if I just hold it up to the glass, the words will all go the right way. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe, all mimsy were the borogoves, and the moan rass out grabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal's sword in hand, long time the manxome foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes aflame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe, all mimsy were the borogoves, and the moan rass out grabe. It seems very pretty, but it's rather hard to understand. Somehow it fills my head with these ideas, only I don't exactly know what they are. However, somebody killed something, that's clear at any rate.
Right now, I want to thank our wonderful audience who are here with us tonight. We have been discussing things that divide us. But one thing for sure, this is a great show because it unites us. That's why we're all in here together, because we are better together. We may be different, but different is good. So we're going to continue to talk about those things that we share in our community that will offset some of the diversity, some of those things that unify us, because we can focus so much on the negative until we can usually not take advantage of the positive. So I got 2 cameras in here. I control these cameras, so I'm getting ready to turn the lens. We're going to turn the lens away from what is negative to what is positive in Alachua County, that which bridge us. As I said earlier, we may not be able to build a bridge across the water that bring the divide together, but we can build a bridge, like Simon and Garfunkel said, over troubled waters. And we can meet on that bridge and level the playing field. One of the areas when I was growing up, and y'all can talk about other areas, that bridged the divide for me was music. I loved music. I was talented in music. Nobody cared what color I was because I was so talented. And all of the kids were very diverse in the music program. So that's the bridge on which we met, and we began to learn about each other and how we lived and appreciate. What were some of the...
I think for me, it was once I stepped outside of myself, that it wasn't all about me and my feelings, but when I began to look at someone else and what they're going through, to look at myself through somebody else's eyes, then for me, I don't really see color. I see people who unite, have the same mind that I do. And once we realize that it's not all about us, I think we'll move forward and move to the next level. But until we stop being selfish, and I stopped being selfish, and I stepped outside of myself and thought about somebody else. So I'm willing to lend a hand to anyone who needs my help.
What interested me more than anything else when I was growing up was education. And I want to ask our Representative Watson about education.
Right.
Okay. What can bridge the divide for us, educationally speaking?
Well, thank you. Well, I have to go back to Tallahassee again. Mm-hmm. You know, we talk about budget constraints and all of those things in Tallahassee. When I was first elected nearly 6 years ago, our budget was around $62 billion. And subsequently then $72 billion. In last session it was $82 billion. But we still continue to underfund education. Mm-hmm. We have a local community that tax itself so that we can appropriately address the needs of our children and our teachers. And we in Tallahassee talk about how we are trying to bring in businesses and corporations to Florida, which I think we should, because I think it creates jobs and opportunity and economic vitality. But if we don't levy those funds appropriately in education to help our children and give the teachers the autonomy to teach our children, and not let private entity and private schools that you may want to call charter schools take the funding away from our teachers and allocate funding for capital outlay and let other schools fall apart in the public sector, those things I think are particularly in the state of Florida what hurts our local schools. We hire a superintendent, we have 5 elected officials to address the local issues, but in Tallahassee we want to take the autonomy away when it comes to resources, but when it comes to decision making, we want to take it all back. And I say we because I'm a part of that body. But I'm one who supports education, I support the local autonomy, I support our teachers, and I support our children. We don't have that in this administration and the majority in Tallahassee. I'm hopeful that can change. And it's not so much about party with me, it's about who's sensitive to this issue. Who's sensitive to the issue of education and the balance of education and the monies that we allocate to our children. And Alachua County initiated a self-tax, which I supported and still do, to help pay for our schools in Alachua County. That shows how important we think it is. And Tallahassee need to do the exact same thing. It's not whether we have the money, it's where we're going to allocate it.
And if I could respond to that, we know that the people of Alachua County are willing to support their schools because they voted twice to raise the millage, and we'll have that opportunity again in this November. So people really need to look at that issue and decide who it's going to benefit. It's going to benefit the public school students. But the other thing is that we have looked at the racial disparity in performance in the schools. And what happens is the kids from day one, when they get there to kindergarten or first grade, there is a racial disparity. And that if you graph it and you watch it over 12 years, it pretty much stays parallel. And what that tells us is that the deficit starts right there between ages 0 and 5. And so what the County Commission has done with a large group of nonprofits and other agencies is we are funding a Children's Services Council starting this year. In September, we're approving a budget that will put a substantial amount of money into early childhood education. That's 0 to 5, because 85% of the brain is developed by the age of 5. And when those kids hit kindergarten or first grade, they need, regardless of who they are and what their home situation is, they need to start at a level playing field, because we actually think the schools can keep that disparity at a minimum through school, but it's getting there on day one that's important, because if you start behind, you're going to stay behind.
That's, you know, and this is why we must continue to address these issues in order to really come to a conclusion and a resolution that's good for everyone, because there are no easy answers, but some answers are better than others. And we have to hold people accountable and responsible who are in a position to make a decision that benefits people. You know, it's nice to be in office and to have that title, but you got to make it count for the people, so that, you know, you look somewhere in your life and say, I served the people, I did something good. And there are those people in our community. We have some people in here with us tonight that I am very fond of, who took the time to come out to our show. We have J.K. Buddy Irby in here tonight, and we have Jess. And of course, I know a lot of you know who Jess is. And I'm just so happy to have them here, because we're talking about understanding each other and coming together. And it's just really nice that to have a diverse audience, because that's what it's going to take.
Accidents and injuries can happen after hours. If you call Glassman and Zissimopoulos after hours, you won't get a referral service and you won't get an answering service. If you call Glassman and Zissimopoulos after hours, you get this phone, you get a partner, you get me. If you've been injured in an accident and you want attorneys who will put you first, call us at 352-505-4515 or find us at putclientsfirst.com.
Have a great week, everyone.
You're more than a model to me. The very expression means more than you think. I wanna commend you, yeah, for following your dreams. As much as I want you, please believe me when I say I love you enough to let you go. There should be enough to walk out stronger. I love you enough, I let you go. There's more than enough to come out better than before. You're more than a memory to me. I feel your emotions, they're inside of me.